Dr. Taeho Kim stared through the observation window at the swirling clouds below. 3 years on space station horizon, and the planet Krista still took his breath away. Its surface shimmered with blues and purples where crystal formations caught the light of the distant sun. Recording day 195, Taeho spoke into his datapad. Still no breakthrough in communication with the Lumith entities. He sighed and rubbed his tired eyes. The small research lab had become his home, its walls covered with images and charts of the crystalline beings he had dedicated his life to understanding. Behind him, the door slid open. Director Han walked in with his usual frown. "Any progress, Dr. Kim?" Director Han asked, not bothering with a greeting. Taeho straightened his lab coat. "The Lumiths showed increased activity when exposed to various light patterns, I believe. They're trying to respond." Director Han picked up one of the crystal samples on the desk. "The company didn't send us to the edge of explored space to make friends with rocks, Dr. Kim. They want to know if we can mine these crystals without complications." "The Lumiths aren't just rocks," Taeho said, keeping his voice calm despite his frustration. "They show signs of intelligence, the way they move, how they gather informations. Intelligence without proof is just wishful thinking." Director Han cut him off. "The mining team arrives in 1 month. If you can't prove these creatures are sentient by then we begin extraction." After the director left, Taeho returned to his observations. On the screen he watched a group of Lumiths floating through their underground caves. The creatures looked like translucent diamonds, each about the size of a human hand. They glided through the air without visible means of propulsion, their bodies catching and reflecting light in beautiful patterns. "I know you're trying to talk to us," Taeho whispered. "I just don't know how to listen." That evening, Taeho sat alone in the station's small dining area. Most of the research team had already been reassigned, leaving only essential personnel. Soon even they would leave as the mining operation took over. "Mind if I join you?" Taeho looked up to see Jiwoo Park, the station's engineer, carrying her meal tray. "Please," he said, gesturing to the empty seat. Jiwoo sat down and studied his face. "You look terrible. Still trying to talk to your crystal friends?" "They're more than just crystals," Taeho said, pushing his food around on his plate. "There's something there, Jiwoo. Something special." "I believe you," she said, surprising him. "The equipment readings change whenever they're nearby. Power fluctuations, signal interference. It's like they affect technology somehow." Taeho straightened in his chair. "You never mentioned that before." "Director Han doesn't like equipment problems in his reports," she said with a small smile. "But I've been keeping track. Could you show me the data?" After dinner, they went to the engineering section. Jiwoo pulled up charts showing subtle energy fluctuations that corresponded with Lumith activity. "See this pattern?" She pointed to a repeating wave on the screen. "It happens every time a group of Lumiths gathers near our sensor arrays." Taeho leaned closer. "It's like a pulse. Almost like a heartbeat," Jiwoo finished for him. The next morning, Taeho was summoned to the communications center. A message from company headquarters filled the main screen. "Due to budget constraints and prioritization of resource extraction, all research not directly related to mining operations will cease immediately. All non-essential personnel will return on the next transport." Director Han turned to face the small group of remaining scientists. "The transport leaves in 3 days. Pack your things." "What about the Lumiths research?" Taeho asked, his heart sinking. "Terminated," Director Han said flatly. "The company has invested enough time and money in your pet project, Dr. Kim. 3 years of research, just thrown away." Taeho said, his voice rising. "We're on the verge of understanding a new form of life." "Without proof, they're just interesting rocks," the director repeated. "And rocks don't have rights against mining operations." That night, Taeho couldn't sleep. He paced his small quarters, thinking about everything he had learned about the Lumiths. They were peaceful, curious creatures that seemed to communicate through light patterns. They lived in harmony with their crystal environment, never taking more than they needed, and now humans would arrive with drills and explosives, tearing apart their home for profit. As the station grew quiet, Tejo made his decision. He packed a small bag with essential supplies and headed to the shuttle bay. If he couldn't prove the Lumiths were intelligent from orbit, he would have to go to them. Jiwoo caught him as he was preparing a small research shuttle. "What are you doing?" she asked, though her expression showed she already knew. "One last attempt," Tejo said, checking the shuttle's oxygen levels. "I need to see them up close in their environment." "That's insane," Jiwoo said. "The atmosphere is toxic. Even with an environmental suit, you'd only have 8 hours of oxygen." 8 hours might be enough. Jiwoo sighed, then stepped forward to help him load equipment. "The storm season is starting. If you get caught in one, communications will be impossible. I'll be careful." "No, you won't," she said, but helped him anyway. "You have that look in your eyes." As they finished preparations, Jiwoo handed him an emergency beacon. "When you're ready to come back, activate this. I'll be monitoring." "You could get in trouble," Tejo warned. "Some things are worth trouble," she replied. The next morning, while most of the station slept, Tejo launched the small shuttle. As he descended through Krista's swirling atmosphere, he recorded a message. "This is Dr. Tejo Kim, making unauthorized descent to Krista's surface. If the Lumiths are intelligent beings, they deserve our protection. I intend to find proof." The shuttle broke through the cloud layer, revealing the breathtaking landscape below. Crystal formations stretched across the horizon, catching the sunlight and breaking it into thousands of rainbow patterns. Tejo landed near the entrance to the largest cave system, where his scans had shown the highest concentration of Lumith activity. After double-checking his environmental suit, he stepped onto the planet's surface for the first time. The ground crunched beneath his boots, small crystal fragments giving way like snow. The air, visible through his helmet, shimmered with particles that seemed to dance in the light. At the cave entrance, Tejo paused to set up a small relay beacon that would boost his signal back to the shuttle. Then, with a deep breath, he switched on his helmet lamp and stepped into the darkness. The cave walls glittered as his light touched them, revealing a world of beauty he had only glimpsed through probe cameras. Crystals of every color lined the walls, some small as fingernails, others tall as trees. He had walked for nearly an hour when he saw the first Lumith. It hovered at the edge of his light, a diamond-shaped being that glowed with soft blue light. Then another appeared and another until a dozen surrounded him just out of reach. "Hello," Tejo said, his voice sounding flat and strange inside his helmet. "I'm here to understand you." The Lumiths moved closer, their bodies pulsing with gentle light. One floated directly in front of Tejo's face, seeming to study him. For a moment he thought he felt something, a faint pressure in his mind, like someone trying to whisper from very far away. Then his communicator crackled. "Dr. Kim," Director Han's voice came through, full of anger. "Return to the station immediately. That's an order." The Lumiths scattered at the sudden noise, disappearing into the darkness of the cave. "I'm sorry, Director," Tejo replied, "but I need more time." He switched off his communicator and moved deeper into the caves, following the retreating glow of the Lumiths. Behind him, he didn't notice the growing darkness as storm clouds gathered above, blocking his signal to the station. Ahead, the silent creatures led him into the heart of their world, where no human had ever gone before. Tejo moved deeper into the crystal caves, the beam from his helmet light bouncing off walls that sparkled like stars. His oxygen meter showed 7 hours remaining. Not much time to discover what no one else had been able to prove in 3 years. The caves grew narrower as he descended. In some places, he had to turn sideways to squeeze through gaps between towering crystal formations. The air in his suit felt stuffy, and sweat trickled down his back. "This is Dr. Kim, recording. Exploration notes," he spoke into his suit's recorder. "The cave system appears to extend much deeper than our scans indicated. The crystal density is increasing." He stopped to check his handheld scanner. The readings were strange, showing energy patterns he had never seen before. It was as if the entire cave system was alive with subtle electrical currents. A soft blue glow appeared ahead. Tejo moved toward it and entered a vast underground chamber. The ceiling rose at least 30 meters high, and the walls were covered in crystals of all sizes. But what took his breath away were the Lumiths. Hundreds of them floated throughout. The chamber, their diamond-shaped bodies glowing with gentle blue and purple light. They moved in perfect harmony, like dancers following music only they could hear. Tejo stood motionless, afraid to disturb them. He switched off his helmet light to observe them better in their natural state. The Lumiths continued their silent dance, seemingly unaware of his presence. Then, as if responding to an unseen signal, they began to arrange themselves in complex patterns. First a spiral, then something that looked like a double helix, then shapes Tejo couldn't even name. "They're communicating," he whispered. But how? He removed a small device from his pack, a specialized scanner designed to detect a wider range of vibrations than standard equipment. Jiwoo had helped him modify it before his descent. The scanner's screen lit up with wave patterns. The Lumiths were producing vibrations, but at frequencies far beyond human hearing. These vibrations bounced off the crystal walls, creating complex patterns that the other Lumiths seemed to respond to. Tejo was so absorbed in his discovery that he didn't notice the small tremors beginning to shake the ground beneath him. By the time he felt them, it was too late. A deep rumbling sound filled the chamber. The crystal formations around him began to vibrate. The Lumiths scattered in all directions, their glow intensifying as if in alarm. "Seismic activity," Tejo muttered, checking his scanner. The readings were off the charts. He turned to retrace his steps back to the entrance, but a violent shake knocked him off his feet. He fell hard against a crystal formation, his scanner shattering on the ground. Above him, crystal shards began to fall like deadly rain. Tejo scrambled to his feet and ran toward what he hoped was the exit passage. The ground continued to shake, making it difficult to stay upright. A particularly violent tremor sent a massive crystal column crashing down behind him, blocking the way he had come. For several terrifying minutes, Tejo dodged falling crystals and sought shelter in a small alcove. When the shaking finally stopped, he emerged to find himself in complete darkness. His helmet light had been damaged in the fall. He activated his emergency backup light, but it provided only a weak glow. Worse, the cave-in had separated him from his path back to the surface. His communicator emitted only static when he tried to contact the station. "Keep calm," he told himself, fighting back panic. Assess the situation. His oxygen meter now showed 5 hours and 30 minutes. The reading made his heart sink. Without a clear path back, he might not make it to the surface before his air ran out. He tried to map his surroundings with the weak light. The chamber he was in now was smaller than the one with the dancing Lumiths. The walls were smooth, almost polished, unlike the rough crystals in the outer caves. As he examined his options, he noticed something odd. Despite the complete absence of any light source beyond his weak emergency lamp, some of the wall crystals seemed to hold a faint inner glow. Tejo approached one and touched it gently. It was warm. As his fingers made contact, the glow brightened slightly. Curious, he placed his palm flat against it. The crystal grew brighter, illuminating the immediate area around him. Responsive to touch, he recorded in his suit log. Possibly some form of energy transfer. He looked around and saw that there were similar glowing crystals throughout the chamber. If he could move from one to another, he might be able to navigate without his helmet light. For the next hour, Tejo made his way through the tunnels, touching crystals to light his path. Each one would glow for a few minutes after contact before slowly fading. It was slow progress, but at least he was moving. Eventually, he reached a fork in the tunnel. Both paths looked identical. He had no way of knowing which might lead to the surface. "Left or right?" he asked aloud, knowing no one could hear him. To his surprise, a soft blue glow appeared in the left tunnel. A single Lumith hovered there as if waiting for him. When Tejo took a step toward it, the creature moved deeper into the tunnel, still visible. "Are you trying to guide me?" Tejo asked, not expecting an answer. The Lumith pulsed once, then continued down the tunnel. Lacking better options, Tejo followed. The Lumith led him through a maze of tunnels that twisted and turned unpredictably. Sometimes they descended, making Tejo worry that he was being led further from the surface. Other times they climbed, giving him hope. As they traveled, more Lumiths joined them, forming a glowing procession through the darkness. Their light was enough that Teho no longer needed to touch the wall crystals for illumination. After what seemed like hours, the tunnel opened into another large chamber. This one was different from any Teho had seen before. The entire space was filled with enormous crystal columns that reached from floor to ceiling. They were arranged in perfect circles, like a natural cathedral. In the center stood the largest crystal Teho had ever seen. It was at least 5 meters tall and glowed with a soft white light that pulsed slowly, like a heartbeat. The Lumiths guided him toward this central crystal. As he approached, Teho felt a strange sensation, a gentle pressure in his mind similar to what he had felt when he first encountered the Lumiths, but stronger. His oxygen meter beeped, a warning that he was down to 3 hours. The sound echoed in the quiet chamber, breaking his concentration. "I need to find a way back to the surface," he said aloud, his voice tight with worry. The Lumiths around him pulsed in unison, creating a pattern of light that swirled around the chamber. It was beautiful, but it didn't help his situation. Teho sat down heavily on a small crystal formation, feeling despair creep in. He was lost in an alien cave system with dwindling oxygen. No one knew exactly where he was. Even if Jiwoo was monitoring his emergency beacon, the signal probably couldn't penetrate this deep. "I was so close," he said to the silent Lumiths floating around him. "I found proof you communicate. I found proof you're intelligent. But it doesn't matter if I can't get back to share it." The Lumiths continued their silent observation, their lights pulsing in patterns that seemed almost like they were trying to respond. Teho checked his oxygen again. 2 hours and 50 minutes. "I'm going to die down here," he said softly. In that moment of despair, Teho did something unexpected. He began to sing. It was an old Korean lullaby his grandmother had taught him when he was a child. The gentle melody echoed off the crystal walls, filling the chamber with sound. His voice cracked with emotion as he sang, the words bringing back memories of home, of Earth, of people he might never see again. But there was comfort in the song, a connection to his past that gave him strength. As his voice echoed through the crystal chamber, Teho closed his eyes, unaware that all around him, the Lumiths had gone completely still, their lights dimming, as if in concentration. For the first time since they had been discovered, the creatures were hearing something completely new, and they were listening. The last notes of Teho's song faded into silence. He opened his eyes, expecting to see the Lumiths continuing their mysterious movements. Instead, he gasped. Every Lumith in the chamber had moved closer, forming a tight circle around him. Their normally blue glow had changed to a soft purple, pulsing in perfect rhythm. It was as if they were breathing together. "What are you doing?" Teho whispered. The largest Lumith, about twice the size of the others, floated directly in front of him. Its light pulsed once, twice, then began to match the rhythm of the song Teho had just sung. Teho stared in amazement. "You're copying the song?" The large Lumith moved closer until it was just inches from Teho's helmet. Then it did something no Lumith had ever done before. It touched him. The contact was gentle, just a brush against his helmet, but Teho felt a strange vibration travel through his suit. The vibration reached his skin, then seemed to pass straight into his mind. Images flashed before his eyes. Crystal caves much larger than those he had seen. Thousands of Lumiths moving together in complex patterns. The planet's surface, as it might have looked thousands of years ago, covered in crystal forests that reached toward the sky. "Are you showing me your memories?" Teho asked, his voice filled with wonder. The vibration changed, and Teho felt rather than heard a response, not in words but in feelings. Curiosity, recognition, something like excitement. The large Lumith moved back slightly, then pulsed its light in a pattern that matched Teho's heartbeat perfectly. "You can sense my heartbeat," Teho realized. "That's how you know I'm alive, that I'm intelligent." More images filled his mind. Humans arriving on the planet, research stations being built, probes being sent into the caves. The Lumiths had been watching them all along, trying to understand these strange new creatures. And now you're trying to communicate with me, Teho said, using the vibrations of my song as a bridge. The large lumith pulsed once, a clear affirmation. Teho laughed, the sound echoing off the crystal walls. All this time we've been studying you and you've been studying us too. He reached out slowly and touched the large lumith with his gloved hand. The creature didn't move away. Instead, it seemed to lean into his touch, its light brightening. Through the connection, more images came to Teho. He saw the lumiths using the crystals as tools, as homes, as a way to store knowledge. The entire planet was a vast network, with the crystals acting as conductors for the vibrations the lumiths used to communicate. You're not just living in the crystals, Teho said as understanding dawned. You're part of them, a symbiotic relationship. The lumith pulsed in agreement. Suddenly, Teho's oxygen meter beeped again. 2 hours remaining. The sound broke the magical moment, bringing Teho back to his dire situation. I need to get back to the surface, he told the lumith. My air is running out. The creature backed away, then turned toward one of the tunnels leading out of the chamber. It pulsed its light, clearly wanting Teho to follow. Teho stood up, hope returning. Are you going to help me? The lumith moved toward the tunnel again, more urgently this time. Okay, I'm coming, Teho said, following the creature into the darkness. This time they moved much faster. The lumith led him through tunnels that seemed to slope upward more consistently. Other lumiths joined them, lighting the way with their glowing bodies. As they traveled, Teho continued to feel vibrations through his suit. Images and emotions flowed into his mind. The lumiths were sharing information, teaching him about their world. He learned that they were born from the crystals themselves, emerging when certain vibrations aligned. They lived for hundreds of years, slowly growing larger and more complex, in their thinking. The giant crystal in the chamber was their elder, the repository of their shared knowledge. Most importantly, Teho learned that the mining operation would be devastating. The crystals that humans saw as valuable resources were vital parts of the lumith's communication network. Removing them would be like cutting off parts of their shared mind. We can't let the mining happen, Teho said aloud. I have to warn the others. The lumiths around him pulsed with what felt like gratitude. They had been unable to communicate their distress to the humans who had been studying them. Now, through Teho, they had a voice. After an hour of rapid travel, Teho recognized a passage. They were approaching the area where he had first entered, the cave system. His spirits lifted at the thought of reaching the surface with time to spare. Then disaster struck. His suit beeped with a new warning. The oxygen recycler was failing, likely damaged during the cave-in. His remaining air was dropping rapidly. No, not now, Teho said, checking the readings. 1 hour left, then 45 minutes. It's dropping too fast. The large lumith moved closer, touching Teho's helmet again. Through their connection, Teho felt something like concern, then determination. More lumiths gathered around him. They began to pulse their lights in unison, creating a wave of energy that Teho could feel through his suit. The vibrations grew stronger, making the crystals in the walls glow brighter. What are you doing? Teho asked, his breathing becoming labored as the oxygen thinned. No clear answer came, just a sense of urgency and collective purpose. The lumiths were working together on something, using their combined energy in a way Teho didn't understand. His vision began to blur as oxygen deprivation set in. 30 minutes of air left according to his rapidly changing display. I need to keep moving, Teho gasped, taking a step forward. His legs felt heavy and he stumbled. The large lumith moved even closer, wrapping itself partially around Teho's helmet. The vibrations intensified, and Teho felt a strange warmth spreading through his suit. The other lumiths joined, surrounding him completely until he was enclosed in a cocoon of glowing crystal beings. Through his fading consciousness, Teho realized they were trying to help him, though he didn't understand how. As his eyes began to close, the vibrations reached a peak. The cocoon of lumiths glowed so brightly that the light penetrated his closed eyelids. For a moment, Teho felt weightless, as if he were floating with the lumiths. Then there was a sensation of rapid movement, of being carried forward at impossible speed. Taeho's mind struggled to make sense of what was happening. Were the Lumiths physically carrying him? Or was this something else entirely? His oxygen alert changed to a continuous tone, warning that he had only minutes left. But through his connection with the Lumiths, Taeho felt only calm reassurance. They would not let him die. With his last conscious thought, Taeho realized what was happening. The Lumiths were using the crystal network like a living transportation system, moving him through solid rock by transferring his vibration pattern along with theirs. "Thank you," he whispered as darkness claimed him. Taeho's next awareness was of cold air on his face and bright light against his closed eyelids. He opened his eyes slowly, blinking against the harsh sunlight of Krista's surface. He was lying just outside the cave entrance, his helmet removed. Nearby, his emergency beacon blinked steadily, sending its signal to the orbiting station. The large Lumith hovered beside him, its light pulsing in rhythm with his breathing. Around them, dozens of smaller Lumiths floated in protective formation. "You saved me," Taeho said, his voice hoarse. The Lumith touched his cheek gently. Through the direct contact with his skin, the connection was stronger than ever. Taeho felt not just images and emotions, but something close to words forming in his mind. "Friend," the not quite words seemed to say. "Songbringer, voice giver." Taeho reached out and touched the Lumith in return. "I will protect you," he promised. "I won't let them destroy your home." As if in response, the Lumith began to pulse in the rhythm of the lullaby Taeho had sung in the crystal chamber. The other Lumiths joined, creating a silent chorus that Taeho could feel vibrating through the ground beneath him. In that moment, as human and Lumith shared the same song without sound, true communication was born. The sound of an approaching shuttle broke the peaceful moment between Taeho and the Lumiths. The creatures pulsed with alarm, their lights flickering rapidly. "It is okay," Taeho said, sitting up slowly. "That might be Jiwoo coming to find me." The large Lumith hovered protectively near Taeho. Through their connection, he sensed its worry. "Not all humans will understand what you are," Taeho admitted. "But some will. Jiwoo will." The shuttle appeared above them, circling once before, landing nearby. The Lumiths retreated slightly but did not flee. They trusted Taeho. The shuttle door opened, and Jiwoo rushed out wearing an environmental suit. She stopped in shock when she saw Taeho sitting calmly among the glowing creatures. "Taeho," she called through her helmet speaker. "Are you hurt? Your emergency beacon activated, but your life signs were strange." Taeho stood up carefully. His legs felt weak after his ordeal. "I am fine, thanks to them," he said, gesturing to the Lumiths. Jiwoo approached slowly, staring at the creatures. "They are beautiful," she said, "but we need to get you back to the station. Director Han is furious, and your oxygen must be low." "The Lumiths helped me when my oxygen system failed," Taeho explained. "Jiwoo, they are intelligent, more than we ever imagined, and the mining operation will destroy them." Jiwoo looked from Taeho to the Lumiths, clearly torn. "We have less than 24 hours before the mining survey team arrives. Director Han has already approved their landing coordinates. Then we have 24 hours to prove the Lumiths deserve protection," Taeho said firmly. The large Lumith moved closer to Taeho, touching his shoulder. Images and emotions flowed into his mind. An idea. "They want to help," Taeho told Jiwoo. "They have a plan." Back on the station, Taeho sat in the medical bay as the doctor checked him over. "Director," Han stood nearby, his face hard with anger. "You stole a shuttle, violated safety protocols, and now you come back with this absurd story," the director said. "Crystal aliens that communicate through song?" "Not exactly through song," Taeho explained patiently. "Through vibrations. My singing was just the first vibration pattern they recognized as intentional communication." "Dr. Kim, you were oxygen deprived," the doctor said gently. "Hallucinations are common in such cases." Taeho shook his head. "Jiwoo saw them too, and I brought proof." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small crystal, no bigger than His thumb. It pulsed with a soft blue light. Director Han leaned closer despite himself. "What is that?" "A gift," Teho said. "From the Lumith Elder. It contains part of their shared knowledge." The director reached for it, but Teho pulled it back. "It only works with me for now. The Lumiths established a connection with me through my song." "This is ridiculous," Director Han said, but doubt had crept into his voice. The glowing crystal was hard to dismiss. "Give me access to the main communication array," Teho said. "Let me show you what the Lumiths shared with me." After much argument, Director Han agreed. What did he have to lose? The mining team would arrive the next day regardless. In the communication center, Teho connected his datapad to the main system. Ji-Woo helped him modify the station's sensors to detect the same vibration patterns he had discovered in the caves. "This will let everyone hear what I experienced," Teho explained. "The Lumiths are going to create a unified vibration field strong enough to reach the station." "Impossible," the station's chief scientist said. "No vibration could travel through the planet's crust and atmosphere with enough strength to be detected." "Here," Teho smiled. "The Lumiths do not just create vibrations. They use the crystal network to amplify and direct them, like a planetary speaker system." He checked the time. "It will begin soon. The Elder is gathering all the Lumiths in the main crystal chamber." Minutes passed in tense silence. Director Han checked his watch repeatedly, clearly thinking this was a waste of time. Then the sensors lit up. A pattern of vibrations reached the station, growing stronger by the second. "Recording incoming signal," Ji-Woo announced, her fingers flying over the controls. The vibrations were converted to sound by the station's computers. A haunting melody filled the room, similar to Teho's lullaby but more complex, with layers of harmony that no human voice could create. "This is just the beginning," Teho said quietly. The melody changed, becoming something else. Not just music, but a pattern of sounds that the computer began to interpret as data. Images appeared on the main screen. The crystal caves from the Lumith's perspective. The history of their civilization, stretching back thousands of years. Their understanding of the crystal network that maintained the planet's environmental balance. Most importantly, the images showed what would happen if the mining began. The destruction of key crystal nodes would create a chain reaction, destabilizing the entire planet. Earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, atmospheric degradation. Within a year, the planet would become uninhabitable, even for the Lumiths. "They are not just trying to save themselves," Teho explained as the images played out. "They are warning us. The planet is a single, interconnected system. The crystals are its nervous system. Damage one part, and the whole suffers." Director Han watched in silence, his face growing paler with each new image. "Can this be verified?" he asked finally. "The geological survey team noted unusual stability in the planet's crust," the chief scientist admitted. "We assumed it was natural, but if these crystal formations are actually regulating seismic activity, then mining them would be catastrophic," Ji-Woo finished. The data transmission continued for hours. The Lumiths shared everything they knew about their world, proving beyond doubt both their intelligence and the danger of the proposed mining operation. When it finally ended, Director Han sat heavily in a chair. "The company will not be pleased," he said, "but I cannot authorize an operation that would destroy an intelligent species and a habitable planet." He looked at Teho. "You have 24 hours to prepare a full report. I will send it to headquarters, with my recommendation that the mining operation be canceled and the planet placed under protection status." Teho felt a wave of relief wash over him. "Thank you, Director." "Do not thank me yet," Director Han warned. "The company has invested billions in this operation. They may not accept our recommendation. Then we will need to give them something in return," Teho said. "Something that makes protecting the Lumiths more valuable than mining the crystals." Ji-Woo looked up from her console. "The vibration technology," she said. "The way the Lumiths use sound to transfer energy through the crystal network. That has applications far beyond anything we currently possess." "A technological exchange," Teho agreed. "Not taking from the Lumiths, but learning from them." He picked up the small crystal the Lumith elder had given him. It pulsed warmly in his hand, as if responding to his thoughts. "I need to go back to the surface," he told Director Han, "to speak with the elder again." "Your oxygen system is still being repaired," Jiwoo reminded him. "I will not need it," Taeho said confidently. "The Lumiths can sustain me now through our connection." Director Han looked skeptical but nodded. "Take Jiwoo with you and be back before the mining team arrives." As they prepared a shuttle for the return journey, Jiwoo watched Taeho carefully. "You have changed," she observed, "since connecting with them." Taeho nodded. "I understand things differently now. The Lumiths do not see the world as separate pieces but as one connected system. Everything affects everything else. Like a song," Jiwoo suggested, "where each note affects the whole melody." "Exactly," Taeho smiled. "And now we have a chance to join that song instead of silencing it forever." As their shuttle descended toward the crystal caves where the Lumiths waited, Taeho felt the familiar, gentle pressure in his mind. The elder was reaching out to him. Across the distance, their connection growing stronger with each passing hour. "Friend," the almost words formed in his thoughts. "Return. Teach. Learn. I am coming," Taeho whispered. "And this time, I am bringing more voices to add to the song." 3 months had passed since the day Taeho first sang to the Lumiths. The research station, once nearly abandoned, now buzzed with activity. Scientists and engineers from Earth had arrived, eager to learn from the crystal beings who communicated through vibrations. Taeho stood at the observation window, watching a shuttle land on the platform below. This one carried representatives from the Planetary Protection Council, coming to make final determinations about Krista's status. "Nervous?" Jiwoo asked, joining him at the window. "A little," Taeho admitted. "This visit will decide everything." After Director Han had sent his report to company headquarters, a storm of controversy had erupted. Some executives wanted to proceed with mining despite the evidence. Others saw the potential in a technological partnership with an intelligent species. The dispute had reached the highest levels of Earth's government, leading to today's visit. "The Lumiths are ready," Jiwoo assured him. "The communication system is working perfectly." In the 3 months since their discovery, Taeho and Jiwoo had worked tirelessly to build technology that could translate the Lumiths' vibrations into sound and images humans could understand. Equally important, they had created devices that could convert human speech into vibration patterns the Lumiths could sense. "I should get down to the surface," Taeho said. "The elder wants to welcome the visitors personally." Jiwoo smiled. "I will handle things here. You go ahead." The journey to the crystal caves, once dangerous and frightening, was now routine. Regular shuttles carried researchers back and forth from the station. A small base had been established near the main cave entrance with living quarters and research facilities. Taeho no longer needed an environmental suit to visit the planet's surface. The Lumiths had shown the scientists how to create breathing filters from crystal components that made the atmosphere safe for humans. When Taeho reached the base, he found the Lumith elder waiting for him. The large crystal being had become his constant companion, teacher, and friend. Through their mental connection, which grew stronger each day, they could now communicate almost as easily as two humans talking. "The visitors have arrived," Taeho said aloud, though he could have shared the thought silently. The elder pulsed with calm blue light. "Ready." The impression formed in Taeho's mind. "Show truth. Show future." Taeho nodded. "They need to see what we have learned, what we can accomplish together." Together. The elder's light brightened at the word. This concept had become central to the relationship between humans and Lumiths, not separate species competing for resources, but partners sharing knowledge, too. Hours later, the council representatives arrived at the surface base. There were 5 of them, dressed in formal uniforms adorned with the Earth government insignia. Director Han accompanied them, looking tense. "Welcome to Krista," Taeho greeted them. "I am Dr. Kim, lead researcher for the Lumith Communication Project." The council chairwoman, Dr. Lee, stepped forward. "We have read your reports, Dr. Kim. They are impressive, if somewhat difficult to believe. Teho smiled. I understand your skepticism. 3 months ago, I would have felt the same. That is why we have prepared a demonstration. He led them into the main research building, where a large circular room had been constructed specifically for communicating with Lumiths. The walls were lined with crystal panels harvested using methods the Lumiths had approved, causing no harm to their network. The Elder and several other Lumiths were already inside, floating gently above the floor. The council members stared in wonder at the glowing beings. These are Lumiths, Teho explained, sentient crystal entities native to this planet. The larger one is their Elder, a being over 500 years old. How do you know its age? One council member asked. They told us, Jiwoo said, entering the room with a device in her hands. This is a translation unit. It converts their vibrations into our language. She activated the device and the room filled with soft light as the crystal panels began to glow. The Elder Lumith moved to the center of the room and pulsed its light in complex patterns. Greetings, visitors from Earth, a gentle voice emerged from the translator. We welcome you to our home. The council members exchanged amazed looks. Dr. Lee stepped forward. Can it understand me if I speak directly? She asked Teho. Yes, he assured her. The translation works both ways. Dr. Lee faced the Elder Lumith. On behalf of the Earth Planetary Council, I extend greetings. We have come to evaluate the situation on Krista and determine its future status. The Elder pulsed. We understand. You wish to know if our two peoples can coexist, if the knowledge we share is worth more than the crystals you might take. That is correct, Dr. Lee confirmed, looking impressed by the creature's directness. Then we will show you, the Elder said through the translator. The lights in the room dimmed. The Lumiths arranged themselves in a circle and began to pulse in unison. The crystal panels on the walls responded, creating a three-dimensional projection. In the center of the room, images appeared showing technologies developed during the 3 months of collaboration. Crystal-based energy systems that produce no waste. Medical devices that could heal using precisely targeted vibrations. Communication systems that could send messages across vast distances instantaneously, using principles similar to how the Lumiths connected through their planetary network. This is only the beginning, Teho explained as the council watched in awe. The Lumiths have been developing their vibration technology for thousands of years. They are willing to share everything in exchange for protection of their home. And what do they expect from us? Dr. Lee asked. The Elder pulsed gently. Music, the translator voiced. Stories, art, your emotions, your perspective. These are treasures beyond crystal value to us, Teho explained further. Before they heard me singing, the Lumiths had no concept of creating vibrations for pleasure, for expressing emotion. Our music opened a new world to them, just as their technology opens new possibilities for us. Dr. Lee considered this for a long moment. Then she turned to Director Han. The mining operation? Completely canceled, he confirmed. The company has redirected its investment to the joint technology venture. The potential profits far exceed what mining would have produced. The demonstration continued for hours. The Lumiths showed technologies still in development. Teho and Jiwoo explained the new understanding of crystal structures that could revolutionize everything, from computing to space travel. By the end, there was no doubt in anyone's mind. The council members spoke briefly among themselves before Dr. Lee announced their decision. Krista will be designated a protected interaction world, she declared. No mining or resource extraction will be permitted. Instead, a permanent research and cultural exchange will be established. The Lumiths pulsed with bright colors that needed no translation. Their joy filled the room like sunlight. Later, as the council members prepared to return to the station, the Elder Lumith approached Teho privately. Friend who sang, the familiar impression formed in his mind. Your song saved us. We saved each other, Teho replied. Without you, I would have died in the caves. The Elder's light pulsed in a pattern Teho now recognized as laughter. More than survival. Understanding. Connection. Tejo nodded, feeling the truth of those simple concepts. What had begun with a desperate song in the darkness had grown into something beautiful and profound. Two entirely different forms of life, finding harmony together. That evening, a celebration was held in the great crystal chamber deep below the surface. Humans and Lumiths gathered together in the cathedral-like space. The scientist had brought musical instruments from Earth, and they played while the Lumiths created complementary vibrations through the crystal walls. Tai Ho stood beside the elder, watching human and Lumith researchers working together, sharing ideas, building friendships. "Did you know this would happen?" he asked the elder. "When you first heard me singing?" The elder pulsed thoughtfully. "Not no. Hope, like first note of new song." "A perfect description," Tejo agreed. Around them the melodies of Earth instruments blended with the vibrations of Lumith crystal song. The sound rose through the caves and echoed across the planet's surface. A new harmony born from a moment of connection in the darkness. It was just the beginning.